Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Moving right along on the Ford. In the last episode, we mocked up and bent up the trans tunnel. Right now it's just set into place. There's a lot of room underneath it still, a good 2-3 inches. So we're gonna bring the rear down. That needs trimmed. The front needs to go forward about a 1/2 inch. The height maybe down another 1/4 to a 1/2. But we gotta do some trimming, get it in place, get it where we want it, and then we can go ahead and start doing the couple patches. There'll be one right here. And then like I said, I have it marked from previously where we did the template in the last video. So I'm gonna come through here and probably trim a nice curve underneath this, like this, a little S curve. Only want to trim a little at a time because I don't want to trim this and then come to find out that's too much and have to refill it. So we're going to get this snugged in where we want it, tacked in a few spots only. That way when I put all my fillers on and get them where they're going to go, I can pull this out, fully weld it, clean it up, and then slip it back in. That's the goal. I may have to just tack everything in place and fully weld it in here, which I can do, but prefer it outside the truck. And then once we get that done, we can work on the drive shaft tunnel. We'll make an end cap plate for right here, and then it'll have a cutout for the drive shaft tunnel, and then we'll build a drive shaft tunnel going somewhere up here, hopefully to 0. And then after we get the inside done, we can move on to the front end. It won't take much to get that front end on. We'll get the inner tubs out, the inner fenders from factory out of there, the hood hinges off, the brace, both them braces are on the inner fenders or on the inner factory tubs. Once we get all that off, we'll be able to slap it on, put the hood on and get that ready to go. All right, let's get this transmission tunnel pulled out and trimmed up. Sheet metal is probably the most time-consuming part of a build, but it's starting to look pretty good. As you can see, we're bringing the rear down more. We may go down another inch, but that's looking about where it's gonna be. Next, like I said, we're just gonna keep trimming, setting in place, trim it, set in place, trim it, set in place. It's a tedious job, but it'll come out really nice. It'll look good when it's done. I may not film all of the mark, trim, but once we get this into position where we want it, like I said, I'll do a tack or 2, and then I don't know if I'm just gonna bring that flat or if I'm gonna dive that at an angle off and have that come into the shaft. But that's it so far. Moving right along. I'm ready to get at this front end. Won't take much to get that front end on. I'm not sure about the hood hinges, but temporarily we'll just set the hood on and it'll look so complete. All then is the bed. is so far. Taking shape better. That line is where I figured on cutting it, but I'm gonna wait because I don't wanna stretch this out from where it sits. I'm gonna pinch that tight, and I don't want, as you can see, that gap might not be right up there. Instead of cutting it, I'm gonna do some dotted lines. That way I know where to bend it. I'm gonna try to bend the tunnel. I'll do some relief cuts I'll show you, and I'm gonna try to bend them pieces up and trim them to where I can go ahead and mark where I need, and I don't have to do a whole bunch of adding on some fillers. I expected to fill this side some more, and then on the other side, y'all already saw on the other side here, the fitment. It's looking a lot better, a lot cleaner. I'm gonna clean up this edge right here a little bit more so it can come down a little further, but that's pretty much the angle I want. And then I'll have to do a filler piece up there. And then right there where that line is, I'm gonna bend that piece out at an angle this way towards the floorboard. And I'll push that down just enough to clear that corner. So this will go down just a little bit more, but I'm really liking, here you can see up in here, I'm really liking it. But do you see how there's still a gap above that board? So the back of here can still come down and have room. Here's a 2x4 for reference. See, I've still got plenty. I've still got about 1 3/4 to 2 inches above there. So I'll probably come down another 1/4 inch and give it a good 1 inch. Or I'll come down another inch and give it a good 1 inch clearance to 1.5 inch clearance. So just like I said on the previous clip before the time lapse, that it's just trim, set it back, trim, set it back. It's just back and forth until we get the fitment we want. I mean, that looks really good right there from here. It's not too tall. I didn't want it to be a huge doghouse in your way. I want it to be as low as we can get it and still have room to access everything down below. So we'll get this where we want it and figure it out. And then, like I said, we'll start figuring out this section next. We'll do the drive shaft tunnel to probably here or here, and then start to do a transition. And we'll figure that out. Worst case scenario, I'll just do strips. Since it's a small piece, we can tack a few, and then I can weld it all up. I'd like to get this all to where it's almost set in place. And then I'd like to go ahead and weld it all in at once and then set it back in, but we'll see. Not everything goes as planned. So we'll go ahead and get back on it. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. We're gonna be pushing to get this one done. One step at a time. This is probably where the fitment's gonna be. As you can see, it's nice and tight now that I trimmed it. Went ahead and, as you saw, cleaned up all the way around the edges. But like I said, I'm really liking the fitment. Probably gonna do a final trim here. There's a couple things I wanna try to do. We'll be trimming that down there. If there's any lip need to be trimmed. There's not gonna be any of this material hanging out below past the floor, so from underneath it'll look like it's supposed to. So I just have to extend, like I said earlier, right here, and then on the other side there's a little piece. Then we can work on cutting this centerpiece out and then mocking up a drive shaft. All right, we'll keep on trucking. One cut, one crease, one piece. We'll get this cut closed in, and then we can move on. That's looking good so far. I don't know how y'all feel, but I like the shape of that. Got almost all the trimming done. This side fits just like it should. Then over here, went ahead and bent it where we had a little gap. And you can see this is all I need to cut. And then we'll clean it up like we did this edge. Then it looks like we can go ahead and start tacking it in a few spots. That way we can make the few fillers. Now that we have that in place where we want it, you can see the gap there. I gotta tack that side and that side, and then I gotta pull that over to be able to tack that. And I'll be able to, as you can see, it gets tighter there. So when I pull that over, it'll pull against there. And on this side, it is almost perfect how I want it. That's how you guys been watching me. As you can see, it butted perfectly to there, so I'll be able to weld that seam. When we get close to here, it'll get pulled tight to this way. As you can see, I already have a lip there. And then I need to clamp the tunnel to this piece so I can start figuring out, oh, what's the autofocus? There we go. So I can, yeah, that's weird. So I can start figuring out the pieces for the front here. they're gonna come back as they're not straight on. I'm gonna have them come back somewhere back here. So we're gonna have to trim more and then have it flare out with the bell housing on this side so there's room. Right now I can stick my hand in there with plenty of room, but see, like I said, this right here, I need to, if I clamp that right there all tight, then I won't have to flare it out much. Then I can just put the pieces right here. So I'll have to tack it in a few spots. This is where it starts to get tedious, where you got to tack it and do a little at a time, but there's no overhang anywhere underneath there, so I won't have to worry about trimming or cleaning up anything under there. That way it'll be nice and clean when you do it this tight. Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and get tacking on that. I don't know how much y'all are going to be able to see, but we'll go ahead and get this started to be one. I wanted to just have it set in place in a few spots. That way I can go ahead and continue on with it, but we're just gonna have to weld this guy in, tack it in, weld the other piece, and if I gotta do cleanup, we'll do cleanup. I can always take the cab, raise it up, and if we have to move the frame out from underneath it so I can get under there, clean it up, seam seal it, and paint it, we will. That's gonna have to get done anyways. So we'll go ahead and get all the fabrication and everything else done and knocked out. So let's go ahead and get this tacked up so we can keep on moving. Now that this side is all tacked up and tight, except for the few spots we said right there is one of them. A little bit of filler. I mean, I could have tried to bend that out, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna slap some metal on it and then come around to the other side. Coyote motor in there. You can see the room back there. Some space all the way around it. Still need to do the steering. We'll cut that flange off. If they want to do the steering, we'll cut that flange off and do some flaming swivels. I don't know what they're called. I don't recall at this moment. But as you can see, that's tacked up. That's all tied up against there. The bent lip is tacked in, and again, right there, as you can see, is the other spot we need to fill. So we'll go ahead and start playing with some templates. Get these mocked up, get them tacked in. I'll probably get everything tacked in really well, not fully welded, and then we'll move on to cutting the drive shaft tunnel out. I have a center line underneath all the tools and stuff. We'll move all that stuff out of the way. More than likely, we're gonna run a 7-inch wide tunnel, because drive shaft's about 3.5 inches, sometimes 4. That'll give you 1.5 inches on each side. If it's a 3.5, it'll give you 2 inches on each side. That'll give you plenty of clearance to mess with it, to change out U-joints. It should give you some room. This right here gives you the thickness of that piece of wood right over there I'm pointing at. Not the thickness, the width. I think that's 1 inch tall, so there should be a good inch clearance up there. All right, let's get to cutting and drawing. I came up with for the side here. Got me some little templates. They're gonna go right there, slightly angled to go with the angle that's already there, so it won't be too much of a step. And then the same thing for the top. I'm gonna bend it with the curvature of the cap, and then it'll get tacked into there. So I'm gonna set the camera up on the passenger side here, because if it was set up over there, my big old butt would be in the way. So we'll set it up on this side, and I'll show you what I do over there. Up was the driver's side. This side I have to climb under the steering wheel, so it's not as accessible, so we're laying down. Basically, it's gonna be something like this. That light's gonna give out. Oh, it did, but you can kind of see. It's gonna be like that. You can see, here, let me turn this on again. You can see my line. I'm gonna trim that, and that'll give me, I can stick my finger between the ear and the metal, but I want more room, so I'm gonna put this piece of that metal there. Here, let me give you this for demonstration. This type will be there, but if I bring it out further, it'll give me a few inches around that ear, those ears that stick out on these transmissions. So we'll go ahead and trim this line. Okay, autofocus. We'll trim that line out that you can see right here, and then we'll start trimming out the couple templates we have to finish this off. Ready to go. We just need to start shaping them up, forming them up. I left them a hair bigger on purpose. I'd rather take some away than trying to add some. So I added just a little bit all the way around. This one has to be bent on this side for this way, and then here and here. Hopefully it gets close enough, but we'll have to set it in there, test it up, set it in there, just like when we're trimming. Little small baby steps to get it where I want it. But for the first time, I stood up the bandsaw that I normally use for narrowing rear ends, and it worked great for me. It comes with this little plate. I'll unscrew it and put the other plate back on. But that worked out real good. For little, small, tedious stuff, that's good for that. Then trying to hold these little pieces to cut them with the grinder wouldn't be that much fun. So we can, like I said, we can go ahead and shape them and get them tacked into place, and then the transmission tunnel will be tacked up and ready to go. Then we can move on to the drive shaft tunnel. But all that will be on the next one. This will be the final video for 2024. We'll move into 2025, finishing up tacking in and bending those last few pieces, which I'm going to do them now, but y'all won't see the next video until in 2025. And then once we get the trans tunnel finished up, all tacked in, we'll just get it all tacked in, we'll do the drive shaft tunnel. Then once that everything is tacked in where I want it and I like it, we'll fully weld it. Then we're finished inside the cab. Then we'll move on to the front clip, get all that sorted out on, and then we'll move on to the bed. I want to thank all y'all for watching me in 2024 for this past year and supporting me. If you're new to the channel, thank you for subscribing and welcome. And we'll see you all next year. Have a happy new year. Thanks for watching.